I want to talk about ERP 2.0. Is it necessary? Is it a good project? I think it is not, and let me explain why. The purpose of ERP is to discourage people, motorists from driving cars because to reduce congestion on the road. Already we have the COE system, which does restrict the ownership of cars to a very large extent. We also have the ERP, the original ERP 1.0, which adds on an additional cost on busy roads. So the combination of COE and ERP already does a lot to discourage the use of cars. Now, what does ERP 2.0 does? Very little. It doesn't add much value to what the existing system already does. Now, what about how much does it cost? The original estimate was $550 million, and that was estimated many years ago. I think eventually the actual bill will be 2 or 3 times, or even more, what the original estimate was. And the original estimate did not include the manpower costs of the officers in the Land Transport Authority and the other costs of reinstalling the new onboard device. So that the actual cost must be very much more than 550 million. There was also some justification that the ERP gantry needs to be replaced or new gantries have to be built. If you look at the cost of this replacement and new gantry, it is a very small sum compared with what is spent on the new system. So again, why are we going to spend so much more when replacing the existing gantry could be much less expensive? There is another problem. We are using new technology untested. It has not been tried anywhere else in the world, using GPS to track the movement of vehicles. I think technically we could be facing a lot of problems. There could be the system could fail for a variety of reasons. The weather could be one of them. The system inability to cope with a large volume. So apart from spending so much money, we might have a system that fails to work properly. Of course, these are just my view, and I could be wrong. We have to wait and see. Thank you for watching.
Hello, my fellow Singaporeans. I'm speaking to you from the beautiful East Coast Park here. Right. I'm going to talk about this new ERP 2.0 using satellite. Wow, very high tech, right? But is it necessary? And what's the use? And will it actually incur higher costs for Singaporeans all over? Now, first thing first, we do not have any details with regards to how this system works. What it can do and what it cannot do, and what it is not supposed to do, and what it's supposed to do. Right? Can do and supposed to do is totally different. For example, it can actually trace all the cars in Singapore. Over 1 million cars, vehicles, right? Whether you are motorbike, bus, public transport bus, or just private cars. Okay. Now, the first thing that can come to our mind all the activities, will it become a tool for tracking not only criminals, but activists, political activists, peer-based political opponents? This is number one. Right? Our privacy will be compromised. As the online citizen, the new online citizen, Asia online citizen, have already said, but just like a trace together. At first, they say, "Oh, trace together is only a temporary form of data collection, right? You are only used solely for COVID purposes, right?" But in the end, PAP government breaches that thought. It was used in court for criminal proceeding. And Shanmugam have to come out and say, "Oh, because this is under the police power and all that." We are a police state. Mistake it not. With this new toy of monitoring almost every vehicle that comes in, will it become another surveillance mechanism for our police state? If you go down to your HDB flats, you can see a lot of surveillance cameras alone. We are one of the country with the most number of surveillance cameras in the world as per capita. Now, the second concept that comes in, problems that comes in, the system needs us to install 3 devices, all making use of electricity, batteries. Our cars, some of the cars have very small batteries nowadays. Is it going to be an additional cost on drivers, on car owners? 3 devices at one go. Now we have a small, effective IU. It doesn't actually consume much electricity power. But 3 with all the gadgets, one with a monitor and all that, it will consume a lot of batteries. It is not efficient. It's not effective. Just for a little toy they don't want to impose on us. Number 3, if you notice, the concept have changed from the ERP to a mechanism to price road usage by distance. It is no longer about controlling traffic during peak hours of traffic jams. Okay? There's no mention of the whole concept. They did not consult us on the whole concept, what they want to do with this. Is it purely for controlling traffic jams, or is it going to be a whole day long-term monitoring of vehicles usage and charge us by the miles? It will increase transportation costs. Everyone, no doubt about it. And small and medium companies in Singapore will be the first, will be impacted with this new gadget, if that is so. Most importantly, we must actually look at whether it is necessary. If it's just purely for road pricing or distance-based pricing, the high tax on petrol have already taken care of it, right? Because your car, when you use the road, of course you have to need to use petrol. That's number one. Even when you use electric car, you will still be charged tax from the electricity that you use to do the recharging. So why do we need this new gadget? Is it necessary? It is not necessary at all. The ERP system has served us well, very well, because we have identified which are the roads, which are the places at peak hours we should actually charge. That is for the purpose of monitoring traffic, regulating traffic. during peak hours. Then what is the purpose of this satellite tracing system mechanism? And satellites are not cheap. So what are the comparative costs done? There's no reports about that given to us publicly. Right? What are the rationale to go into that? PAP likes to talk about cost and benefits analysis. They have not shown us what are the cost and benefit analysis about it. But of course, the benefits is it enhances the police state in Singapore. The surveillance, nobody can run away on surveillance. That is definitely one of the benefits, but not to our benefits. It's to the police state. There are a lot of concerns about that. And they have gone into this implementation, even though they have talked about it 10 years ago. But they have not given us much details of the cost and benefits analysis. What can this system do that the current system cannot do? And does that actually make sense? Right? You have the quota system, you have the tax on the petrol, tax on the electricity, and you still want to add cost or usage of the road. I hope our fellow MPs, especially the opposition MPs in Parliament, can raise this issue because I'm not elected yet. But if you want a more comprehensive information, more robust debate in the Parliament, vote us in. We will do the necessary to safeguard the interests of everyone. Thank you.
It has just been announced ERP 2.0. All the IU, the units in all the motor vehicles, which I understand is like more than 1 million motor vehicles, will have to be changed and reinstalled, replaced by the new IU. The question is, even though the replacement is free of charge, how much is all this going to cost? And if I may use an analogy, is it really necessary to go through so much cost and perhaps inconvenience of replacing all the IU? As some people have suggested in some countries, why not use a phone app that can be used by anyone who owns a motor vehicle using the mobile phone? Now, as to what the reasons given that, maybe the mobile phone will run out of battery or whatever, I mean, to me, it sounds a bit strange, because if you're in a motor vehicle, surely you can charge the phone. So how can the phone ever be, have no battery, when you're using the whatever new IU? So as an example, you see, if you look around the island, you see so many of the bus stops are being replaced by much better and much more expensive bus stops, which I understand cost maybe about $100,000 to build a new passport. So is there a real necessity to replace so many of the bus stops with such expensive bus stops? Just an analogy is like having to replace the IU unit. And with this replacement, does it mean that sometime in the future we may move into a different regime of charging by the distance instead of ERP? And if so, will the government make even more money, have more revenue? And if so, how much? And at the end of the day, the estimated transport-related revenue is about 9 billion a year estimated. This is COE, road tax, ERP, petrol fuel duties, vehicle taxes. So, is there really a need to have ERP 2.0? Thank you.
My fellow Singaporeans, very good morning to all of you. Now, today I want to speak very briefly about ERP 2.0. Now, if there is one project to which the phrase dead on arrival or outdated on arrival applies, it must be this project. almost 20 years in the conception stage, all right? Preparing for it. $500 million spent. Yeah, $500 million, my friends. And you know, when it is unrolled, the amount of criticisms, all right, it has attracted has been unbelievable. And you know what? The most outrageous thing is that this project was conceived. It was meant to be the first, I think, in the world in which it would enable a government to base road usage on the distance traveled by a car. But apparently, we are not going to have that anymore. Yeah. So can you see how absurd this whole project is? The people of Singapore have had to pay $500 million for a project that is no longer relevant. Yeah. Yes, the LTA will come out with all sorts of reasons. All right. But, you know, it is shocking, the incompetence, my friends. And, you know, my friends, I do not want to go into all the technical nitty-gritties of, you know, this project. All right. I'm not the best person placed in order to do that. But to me, this project is the latest example of how wasteful our government has become. They spend money like water. Look at the sports hub. $1 billion there, all right? A white elephant. Despite what Edwin Tong and all that might say, yeah? It has not been able to replicate what we felt about the old Kallang Stadium, yeah? And if you want further examples, just go to the scams, the online scams that have happened recently. You know, Singapore is now the most scam nation on earth. Can you believe it? I mean, for a nation that is supposed to be a smart nation, all right, Lee Hsien Loong pronounced in 2014 we were going to be a smart nation. Well, we are anything but a smart nation if we are the most scammed, yeah? And the recent spate of, you know, online disruptions, you know, from DBS, Citibank, and all that. So, my friends, I'm saying, let's step back and let's look at this objectively. And you have to realize that our government is not spending our monies wisely. And I do not know why. I do not know why they are so poor when it comes to the digitalization of our economy. And everywhere in the world, people are going digital. Yeah. You know, I do not read in the papers, and I subscribe to quite a number of foreign newspapers, you know, English, American, and all that. I do not read of all these frequent online disruptions in their banking system. But Singapore, to me, is like a standout. Yeah. And, you know, I think if I was in government, you know what I would do? I will cut down all these waste, like Sports Hub, you know, this crazy ERP 2.0. I would harness the funds. I would place my trust in Singaporeans, all right, to come up with really breakthrough ideas. You know, I am not going to depend so much on foreigners, all right? I want to train, I want to enable talented Singaporeans to think of the way forward for our society. You know, I was so impressed when I went to Beijing in 2019. You know, China is a country I first visited in 1985 when I was a 20-year-old, before I left to England for my university studies. You know, it was so backward then. I remember going to Beijing with my father. I saw very few cars. I saw millions of bicycles, you know. And over the years, I have gone back to China repeatedly. But what really blew my mind away was this trip in 2019. I was there for only 3 days. but I saw how advanced they were. Everyone goes out into the streets without carrying cash. Everything is paid for by their phone, all right? You can even buy a cup of water, a drink for 10 cents on the street and you pay with your phone. That is how advanced they have become. And what have we been doing? We were miles ahead of them in 1978 when Deng Xiaoping came, for that visit. And look where we are today. So, my friends, I think we need to really rethink our digitalization policy. We need to start wasting money, and we need to start putting trust in Singaporean talent. Thank you very much.